Hello and welcome back to another edition of Viper Bites, and we've got yourself a primetime preview, Thursday Night Football, heading into Week 11. We've got the New England Patriots heading down south to take on those dirty birds, the Atlanta Falcons. But before we get into this tale of the tape, a little bit of housekeeping like we always like to talk about. If you're watching us on the Vipers Network, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Let's boost that algorithm together. And if you're listening to us on any of our podcasting platforms, whether that be Apple, Spotify, Anchor, whatever that may be, take a moment, rate and review. We love to hear those comments come in. We love the support, and we appreciate each and every one of you. And as always, if you've got questions, drop them in the comments here if you're listening to us on YouTube. Hit me up on Twitter at MattDonnellyFF, and we will get those questions answered for you in a timely manner. Now, without further ado, let's dive into this Thursday Night Football matchup. First off, let's start with the New England Patriots, and let's start off with their rookie signal caller, Mack Jones. Mack Jones was on my starts and sits this week, so you know I'm buying whatever the Patriots are selling here when it comes to his development. Since Week 7, Mack Jones is the QB 10 in fantasy, scoring 60 points, and he's been efficient in doing so. Since Week 4, Jones has thrown a touchdown pass 5.5 or 5.5, 5.4, depending how you want to round it up, each time he steps back to throw. Heck, last week, 3 touchdowns thrown on 23 attempts. That's a touchdown every 13%. 13% of the time, he's throwing a touchdown last week. So we know Mack Jones is being efficient. Must be that Alabama bloodline. Now, the numbers don't look that impressive when you look at paper, but he has been effective. And this week, he faced the Falcons defense near the bottom when it comes to coverage grades and pressure. That is the perfect storm for any quarterback. Also, doesn't hurt that Atlanta, they also allow the third most fantasy points per game to quarterbacks and have allowed them to throw for 2,303 yards and 19 passing touchdowns. Those touchdowns surrendered are the 4th most in the league. Moving over to the running back position, and I know Major Caldwell, he's listening in here because you know I'm going to talk about Rhamondre Stevenson. You know I'm going to talk about Brandon Bolden. I may even throw J.J. Taylor in here. But you know what? It's a fluid situation, so keep a close eye on that injury report leading to this contest. Early indications are that Damien Harris should be available for this one from coming back from concussion protocol that sidelined him last week, which means Rhamondre Stevenson will not quite carry the full workload that he saw back in Week 10. Now, the game script in this one could evolve very quickly into a heavy run type game for the Patriots if they get out early and get out big. Now, we know what that means. The bigger they get out, the more earlier they get out, the more Brandon Bolden, the more J.J. Taylor. Obviously, the more run we're going to see Rhamondre Stevenson go. Rhamondre Stevenson balled out in Harris's absence last week, finishing as the RB2 in PPR scoring, thanks to a 100-yard rushing performance and saw him score 2 touchdowns and add 14 yards in the passing game. Now, Stevenson now has 3 double-digit fantasy performances in the last 4. He also gets to play Atlanta this week, who are allowing the 4th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. Harris, on the other hand, he has scored 110 fantasy points this year and sits as a solid RB2 this season, ranking in as a 21st overall scorer at the position. Prior to missing last week, he had scored 10 or more points in 3 straight games and recorded 80 or more rushing yards in 3 of the previous 4 contests. Now, at wide receiver, Jakobi Meyers, Kendrick Bourne, tag team back again. Okay, I'll stop right there. No, I won't. Whoop, there it is. Jakobi Meyers, first touchdown of the season. Okay, now I'm done for real this time. Look, I mentioned how bad this Falcons defense was in coverage and how bad they were at pressuring the quarterback. Well, last week, Kendrick Bourne was the wide receiver 5 in fantasy scoring. Jakobi Meyers, wide receiver 15. There is a good chance that they both could end up being wide receiver 1s this week and great options for you moving forward. Now, the Falcons are allowing the 8th most points on average to opposing wideouts at 37.52 per game and have allowed the 3rd most touchdowns, 13. Now, Bourne and Meyers check in respectively at wide receiver 32 and wide receiver 33 on the season. While I wouldn't expect another 98-yard receiving, 43-yard rushing performance from Kendrick Bourne, he has produced 14-plus points in 3 of the last 5 contests. For Meyers, it's just the beginning of his ascension to mid-range wide receiver 2, as he has seen 76 targets through 10 games and it's only a matter of when, not if. Now, let's talk about the other pass catcher here for New England, Nelson Aguilar. You know what? He's really only on this show sheet so I don't get fined. Moving along, Hunter Henry, Jonah Smith. Jonah Smith had to die in fantasy so that Hunter Henry could truly live. Now, don't look now, but Hunter Henry is the tight end 4 in fantasy scoring. No, seriously, I fact-checked myself. Since week 4, he has the 3rd most points among the tight end position, while finding the end zone 6 of the past 7 contests, scoring 7 times, double dipping down on the Browns last week. Those 7 scores are the most when it comes to position. That's 2 more than Dawson Knox, Travis Kelce, Uzuma. Now, while Atlanta is ranked in the middle of the pack when it comes to defending the tight end position in fantasy, it's hard not to think that Henry keeps this momentum going for at least another week. If the Falcons can find a way to keep Henry out of the end zone, then they'll find a way to contain him. Despite being 4th in fantasy points at the position, Henry is 13th among tight ends in receiving yards. Now, let's swing this over to Atlanta. And you know what? There's not a whole lot of positives to get into. But here we go. Let me try and spin this any way I possibly can. Matt Ryan was as cold as ice and more than willing to sacrifice our fantasy love last week against Dallas. I've seen it before. It happens all the time. He closes the fantasy door on production, leaving the rest of us behind. Okay, this time it was his teammates factoring in on this one. Calvin Ridley, he's still away from the team. Cordarrell Patterson was hurt. More on him in a minute. Russell Gage pretty much disappeared last week. Even Olamide Zacchaeus couldn't help him. Seriously, I can't even remember what he had. It was like 2 for 22. I'm sure I'll touch on that here in a second. It was only Kyle Pitts, and I'm sure you can't exactly count on that connection this week. As we know, Belichick takes away the team's best players more often than not. It's also not a good sign that the Patriots rank just below the Bills when it comes to limiting opposing quarterbacks in fantasy, allowing 13.8 fantasy points per game while ranking 2nd in interceptions with 14 through 10 games. Yeah, Matt Ryan, you're on the sits this week. It's really that simple. Now, I promised we'd talk about Cordarrell Patterson. I haven't had a whole lot of top opportunities to talk about him on these shows, but you know what? You're going to want to pay really close attention to the injury report leading up to this one. His status really changes the way that this Falcons offense can operate. If he is unavailable, this could get ugly very quick. And right now, he looks like he's going to be a true game time decision. Now, I am assuming it's going to be tough for him to come back on the short week with that ankle injury and everything that kind of goes there. But he is practicing, and more important than anything, it is a revenge game. Now, up until last week, Patterson had basically produced 14-plus fantasy points in every game outside of Week 1's contest against the Eagles. The Patriots ranked 20th in fantasy points allowed to the running back position. Yes, I'm going to call Patterson a running back for this video. Now, they are allowing 24.42 per game and have allowed the 9th most rushing yards, 951, on the ground, while allowing the 2nd most yardage to running backs in the passing game at 651. Now, despite all that yardage, they have only allowed running backs to score 3 times in 10 games. Now, we're going to keep this rolling with the running back position. In the event thereof that Cordarrell Patterson is not able to go, it goes down to Mike Davis and Wayne Gallman. Neither is the answer, but like I said, if you're looking for that replacement, I'm probably leaning to Gallman because he saw a majority of the carries last week against Dallas, counting that rock 15 times for 55 yards, adding in a 21-yard reception, while Davis had 4 carries for 18 yards. Based on last week's production there, Gallman looks like the stronger of the 2 options this week. Now, moving along, wide receivers, Russell Gage, Olamide Zacchaeus, they combined for 2 catches for 22 yards versus Dallas. And Russell Gage was responsible for none of it. Come on, man. Look at that. Look, facts are facts. It's Pitts, then Patterson in the passing game. Heck, Calvin Ridley, who's played 5 of 9 games, is 3rd in receiving yards for the Falcons. I know I got hyped up too with Russell Gage game coming here, and I won't do it again. I won't let you do it. If he goes off, he goes off. Zacchaeus, Gage, Tajay Sharp, They have all combined together for 523 yards this year. That's 83 fewer yards than Kyle Pitts thus far. Speaking of Kyle Pitts, he faces a difficult challenge this week. And by the way, week 12, by week 10, you're no longer a rookie anymore. There, I said it. No more rookie excuses. You're no longer a rookie. We've played over half the season. Now, Pitts leads the Falcons with 606 receiving yards and a 15.1 average when it comes to yards per reception. He also has one touchdown this year to go along with his 40 receptions. Pitts currently sits 6th in fantasy points, but is 23rd in average points since week 8. A reason for that, you know what? He has only one game with more than 10 fantasy points in the last 3 contests and has seen 6 or more targets in 8 of the 9. So you got targets, you got opportunity there, but the production hasn't been there the last 3 weeks or so. And guess what? Opportunities, they're there, but guess what? He draws Bill Billichecks' attention this week. The evil genius himself is on a mission to capture a unicorn in week 11. I like this advantage for Bill Belichick and the Patriots. I like the Patriots a lot in this game. I think you can fire up Mack Jones, fire him up. Rhamondre Stevenson is a good flex kind of option. Damien Harris, RB2, fits the bill there quite nicely. Jakobi Meyers, Kendrick, Bourne, both wide receiver 3s, flex options for you. Kyle Pitts, you're going to start him, but I'm telling you, temper those expectations because Bill Belichick will have a plan for him. And let's hope that Cordarrell Patterson goes because this is the only way that this offense is going to get clicking here in week number 11. That being said, head over to fantasypoints.com, enter promo code 21Vipers10, get 10% off that subscription today, and make sure to check out all of our primetime previews on the Vipers Network on YouTube. And we will catch you next time. Take care now.